Ever feel like some tennis players, they're down, the pressure's on, but they just, I don't know, they flip a switch or something.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's almost like they're at their best when things get tough.
Yeah.
We're diving into all that today, that mental side of tennis, those
Yeah.
like invisible advantages. And we've got these excerpts about how to actually train your mind for those pressure moments.
Totally. I mean, that's mental toughness, right?
Wow.
And that can be just as important as like your forehand or your backhand, especially when you get into a long match.
Totally. It's like our source today was saying, it's a war of attrition out there.
Mm,
But not just, physically.
right.
Like, have you ever noticed how some players just seem to, I don't know,
Yeah, yeah.
like back off when it's a tight tiebreaker or something?
Oh, absolutely. And that's when you can tell the mental game is getting physical. Like you tense up,
Yeah.
you overthink that drop shot,
Right.
you rush that forehand, and suddenly you're making all these unforced errors you wouldn't normally make.
Yes.
And the source even points out that's when a mentally tougher player, they don't just weather the storm, they use it,
Probably.
They get even more aggressive, they exploit those cracks.
It's interesting, though, because they also say that even for these pros, doubt's always there.
Oh, for sure.
They even said something like, belief isn't the absence of doubt.
Yeah.
It's how you deal with it. And you know what match I kept thinking about? That Djokovic-Alcaraz final at the Olympics this year?
Oh, man. Talk about a masterclass
Yeah.
in mental resilience.
Djokovic was like, okay, yeah, there are always doubts. But then he was basically like, but my belief that I can do this is even bigger.
Yes. And you could really see it, like, especially in those tiebreakers. He seemed to use that pressure, almost like it was fueling him.
Totally. It was like those mini breaks between points.
Mhm.
He was using them to reset, almost like meditating right there on the court.
Right.
And it's like our source was saying you can actually train yourself to do that, to thrive in those moments.
Right. And they had some good tips for that, too, like pushing yourself even harder in practice, even when you're exhausted.
Oh, okay. Like what would be an example of that?
So say you've just played a killer practice set, right? You're totally gassed, but instead of calling it a day,
Right.
you play a tiebreaker. You force yourself to stay in it mentally, even though physically you're like, I need a break.
Wow. Okay, so it's like taking it to that next level.
Exactly. Or how we were talking about positive self-talk. That's huge, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What they're saying about that, it seems so simple, but they were saying it's really powerful, especially when the pressure's on.
It's about catching yourself when you have those negative thoughts like, oh, I can't do this, and flipping the script. So instead of, I can't make this shot, it's like, no, I've practiced this a million times. Trust yourself. You'd be surprised how just changing that internal dialogue can change how you play.
So it really is like training any other part of your game.
100%.
You're putting in the reps, not just on the court, but like you said, in your mind too.
Exactly. Mental endurance, just like physical endurance, it's a skill you build over time.
Okay, I like that.
So next time you're playing, just remember, winning isn't just about, how hard you can hit the ball.
Yeah.
It's about mastering that mental game, too.
It's all connected.
It really is.